adding in levels into the game is the next feature request. So a piece of artwork has been created, level win screen. It's just a duplicate of the winner screen with change color and text. Now that that's there, it's just going to be simply a matter of adding in the necessary code to make the magic happen. And the primary piece of code that's going to be necessary is to add in an additional variable, and it's going to be an integer, and we will call that level. So at this point, with that level variable, it's something that we can set when we load the game. At the same place that we zero out the score, we can now make sure that level is equal to 1. This now gets level equal to 1, so it's ready to go. Currently it's not doing anything except saying level is equal to 1. And with that, I'm going to modify things a little bit under moving the enemies. And the enemies are going to move faster based on whatever the game level is, so I am going to multiply their speed by the level, which currently means on the first level of play it will remain the same. And I'm going to leave losing the same, so if time runs out, you lose the game. Otherwise, what we're concerned about is under check for win, where check for win is looking for the max score, which in the beginning max score was set equal to, and now we're going to need to modify where this gets set as well and set this under game start, because max score is equal to 10, and what we're going to want is now to keep increasing that max score value each time. So knowing that, I'm going to now take this max score value and move it. So in the meantime, I'll just select it and copy it, and then move down under load game and put it in, copy in down here. So this now, when the game resets, it resets the max score to 10. But check for win is now going to need to be modified. So instead of looking for max score, it's going to be equal to max score plus, and this is where we might want to change that 10 value to something a little bit lower, at least starting, times actually, instead of, could even just leave it as level. We don't even need the max score. So it starts out at level 1. We have to get 10. At level 2, 20. That's not necessarily going to give us the exact amount. After much deliberation and scribbling and scrawling on the board, we've come to a consensus as to an ideal way of doing this and deciding that the level should not be 10, it should be 5. And we also need to have a value called previous score plus. And now previous score is going to start out at 0 when the game begins. This might be replacing max score in my list of values. But every time you clear a level, previous score is going to then be set to what the current score value is. That will be a way to track that particular value. And it's not unusual while you're working that you end up using some variables, creating new ones, and realizing ones you are using become obsolete in the process, and then you just stop using those. And eventually when your code is done, you delete those from your code as you tidy things up. But that's a normal way of iterative development where you're adding in pieces. So now previous score is set to 0. It checks to see what the previous score is. And what this is going to be a play until you lose kind of game. You can keep clearing levels, and then once you finally lose the level, then it goes to the loser screen and clears out. But it is possible that here it's checking to see if you've won, which is really clearing the level. You could put into this conditional statement an if statement that says if your score is a particular value, then it calls winner, which, just to keep things nice, I think I will fit that into the equation. So if our score gets to some high amount, and we'll figure out the math on that in a moment, it will go to the win screen and call all of this. Otherwise, it's a else if, and then this is going to be the logic for the level up. So this now is going to go here, and here if score is greater than or equal to, that way if for some reason it registers 2 hits right away, sometimes the way the events work on this, it might register 2 hits. So then if you just said if score is equal to what you want to be your winning score, then it would miss it. So it's better to say greater than or equal to, and then we can choose a number. I'm going to go with 50, and we'll see if that works, and that calls the winner screen and says we have a winner. Otherwise, it's time to go into the level up. Now, level up is going to mimic most of what is going on here, but instead of calling cleanup, it's going to, well, it will need to call under cleanup, or at least a version of cleanup, and then it's going to have to stick some different things on screen. So you can copy that, paste it in. So it stops the timer, level up, stops looping, but now it's going to add, instead of the winner screen, it's going to add the level win screen, which we have not actually added that object into the mix yet. I'm going to comment out cleanup because we'll be running this shortly. So we need to add that object in. It would make sense to add it with the other screens here. Var level win screen. And it's going to have the same properties as the winner one, so I'll copy paste that. So now we have a new level win screen. On there, the game loads, previous score is 0. We're probably not going to care about max score any longer now that we've adjusted the gameplay. Actually, we could have max score be equal to what is the ultimate win. So it would almost make sense with a name like max score. But I'll just leave it for now. So previous score is 0, level is equal to 1, score starts at 0. And score goes up when I hit enemies. Now, if the score is greater than 50, it goes to winner. Otherwise, if score is greater than my previous score, which starts at 0, plus level, which is 1 times 5. So if I get 5, it stops the timer, says level up, and it adds on the level win screen. So at this point, I am going to save this, run it. 2, 3, 4. All right, so we cleared the level. The game stopped. So at this point, we're going to need to add a button on screen, make that button clickable. When I click on the button, it restarts the timer, does not reset the score, gets rid of the cleared level screen, and then starts making the enemies come out, and the enemies are moving. Did update that early on, that the enemies are moving as a speed related to the levels. So they will start to move a little bit faster, becoming harder to hit, and I have to get twice as many each time. And we may find that that could be too much. So perhaps instead of multiplying them by the level, we just add the level to them so they only move a little bit faster instead of moving a lot faster and a lot faster. And these are all game mechanics that once you get your functionality working, then you start tweaking all those numbers. It's like moving knobs and dials until you dial it in. Then you're like, sweet, now this has a nice flow to it. It happens at the right speed. It's doable or it's not doable. You let a few other people play it, and if you realize that nobody can get past level 1, your parameters are probably off. But if everyone sails all the way through every time, you might need to tweak things to add a little bit more difficulty into the mix. So now with this level up, it adds the windscreen, and then it's going to not want to call under cleanup where it removes the score box and the timer and the player, but we will want to add in a button, and then we will need to add a different one. Plus, we will want to get rid of that. So it won't be necessarily the cleanest code, but I'm going to add this directly to this one since it is going to be a little bit similar. So we can add in the button, and then we'll call this level click. But this is good that if there are enemies still on the screen, we don't want them there when we start up the next level because we want all fresh ones. So we want those enemies to go away and get out of that particular array of things. So now I need the clicking function tied to that. And because we use the orange button, we can go back and look at the orange click and let's see. Wow, I guess I could have used orange click because it now is checking on these. So we could, but we don't want it to call load game at the end. So I'm going to just create a separate click function to be safe with it. So this gets rid of the button, gets rid of that screen. Now it needs to call a few different things. Level plus equal 1. That increases our level. It needs to reset the timer. So kind of a lot of things that happened under the add game or load game, where we didn't get rid of these items. But we will want to, the add event listeners, because the timer object is still in memory, we don't need to reinstall those, but we will want to reset the timer and tell the timer to start, and add loop back, add the focus of stage back, and hopefully that should be, oh, and we will need to set previous score as well. So we'll copy these, go down here, so previous score equals score. So this now sets previous score to whatever the current score is, because we never zeroed it back out. We reset the timer, and I want to just put that back up with these. Just feel better leaving, so then we reset the timer, start listening for a loop, which allows the keyboard to start working again, and then set the focus back on the stage. And if I'm lucky, it will work. Save it, run it. Scored, cleared the level. Score is still there. Did the timer reset or no? Didn't catch that. All right, now this is getting harder. Timer is not resetting. Okay, so it's going backwards. So we're having some timer issues going on. So the levels are working, but the timer's a little bit broken. So that's going to require a little bit of investigation to figure out why the timer is not fully resetting. Because we told the timer to reset. And told the timer to start. We have let's go into the timer functions and see collisions, explode, check, level, orange. Find my timer function. All right, so time left also needs to, I believe, reset itself as part of this. So, because then timer is resetting based on time left. So let's go time left starts out as equal to max time, which max time I believe was a value set early on at 30. So it appears the timer stopped, but it didn't. It did stop, but then it continued going from where it was.
No, I went from 29. No, it went back up to 29 or 30. You stopped the other one. When you clicked 24. On the screen the first time, it went back to 29.
Okay. All right, so it's working, except we need to update, do an initial update to the text field. Otherwise, we have 1 second of delay. Because the timer takes a second to update, we need to physically or explicitly update that time, which was below where I was, so I should be able to just grab it here. So it's this text right here. After we reset the time equal to the max time, we do one hard reset of the content of that. So it immediately, when it's resetting, it sets it and save it, run it. Okay. Starting to think though there's no way you're ever going to clear the third level. It's really
The only way would be if you added more
if they spawn more frequently.
quicker.
Well, let's see. Lose. All right, I lost. So a little minor snafu there. Under loser, then it. Oh. Okay, so the minor snafu is because I copy pasted code under my level click. The level click is trying to remove orange click from an object, but the object had level click tied to it this time. So when I copy pasted it in, when I add the event listener, then when I try and remove it, it needs to match exactly except saying remove in place of add. And because I copied the orange click, not level click, so it gave me that error message there. Okay, so now that allows me to fail out and be really unhappy with the whole situation, level win, blah, blah, blah. What this means is under enemy spawn, then we can modify this so that it spawns more frequently, and the more frequent spawn is by lowering 30 to a smaller number. So if we want that number to be a factor of the level, so what I could do is I could, well, not right click, but left click, and now this number is equal to 30 minus level times, oh, we'll make them spawn a whole lot more frequently. And if I wanted to still have the initial same value, I could start it out at 35. That gives me 30, and then it's going to be 25. But just in the interest of speeding things up, we'll go for it. Apparently I deleted something I wasn't supposed to delete. Oh, I need one more closing parenthesis. There we go. Now we can see they're moving faster, but I am getting more. I'm kind of wishing that my speed would go up every level. Okay, there's no way I'm going to get to 50 as part of this. So that was a pipe dream. If I even see 30, I think I'll be happy. Oh, there was a whole cluster and I missed them. All right. Whoa! Okay, now they're going really fast.
Enemy removed. Enemy removed. You just gotta be like lucky, dude. Can
you? Okay. Okay, and there's no laughing at my pathetic game playing here.
Oh no, we're laughing at the fact that you're gonna lose.
So close.
You lost.
All right, and now we can see it goes back to level 1. They're going slow. So we've now built in a game that is theoretically possible to win if you're a better player than I, but instead of doing that, and I'm going to resurrect my max score value and let that be the ultimate win one. And call max score here, and now just change max score. Instead of 10, we'll say 22. Oh, 2200. Yeah, that would be impossible. Let's say 22 as the max score. That means I have to clear the first 2 levels to pull that off. So at least now we're seeing something realistic here. But as was mentioned, it really is about thinking of this in terms of it's a bunch of knobs and dials that you are modifying to build in a sense of gameplay. So you're trying to figure out a balance between enjoyment
And I will kill you all.
and frustration. Because if it's an impossible Kobayashi maneuver where you can't win a no-win scenario, then that's just not really going to. Okay, come on, I just need 2 more. All right, I have a winner. Go back to the beginning. Here we go, and they're going slow. Timer reset, score reset. So no errors. The game is working. All is right with the universe.